Hey guys, how is it possible that you have been so good to these people, but then all of a sudden they become your opposition? How? I recently shared a message about the relationship between Saul and David and the different stages of attempts to unalive David by Saul, where Saul has the spirit of envy and jealousy controlling him to the point that he wants to get rid of David. And prior to that, David was like the best thing that ever happened to him. David was the guy who was playing the harp for him. David was the guy who fought the Philistines, who conquered Goliath. But then next thing you know, David was the enemy. How? I spoke about this because we live in a day and age where a lot of people are bruised because of betrayal from people that they were once close with. The only way something can be of betrayal is if it actually was from a person who was really, really close to you, a person that you shared a lot with. They know majority and some of the ins and outs of your life, and yet in one moment they betray you, and all of a sudden, unbeknownst to you, you are in opposition. And you see David doesn't see this at first glance in chapter 18, but in chapter 19 Jonathan warns him, tells him, by the way, my dad wants to get rid of you. And I always wonder, like, what David went through mentally to kind of, hey, boy, why? I've always been good to you. Why would you want to do this to me? And I guess we see this in the book of Saul because he laments trying to make sense of the situation. And we can really learn a lot from David in terms of how he navigated that season in his life where Saul wanted to actually get rid of him because he was literally now jealous of the protege, basically. And David thought that this man was going to mentor him, lead him, but Saul had other underlying issues. We don't talk about the underlying issues that live within people who are actually in positions of power. We normally idolize people to a fault, and we don't actually look at their character. We look at their emotional intelligence or the lack thereof, and we idolize their power more than their ability to have character, you know. And I think it's so important the story of Saul and David just never gets old because it touches so many facets of our life that you can really take a lesson from every portion of scripture, every verse, every psalm. You see how David navigated his life. David wasn't a perfect guy, but David went through a lot, and the reason why he's called a man after God's heart, because even when he did the unthinkable, he also sought the face of the Lord. So I pray that you also realize the people that you look up to, when they betray you, remember that they also have demons that most of them don't navigate. Their power, their position overshadow those demons. And sometimes those demons go unnoticed. Only later on you realize, yo, this person really had a character flaw, and maybe I should have discerned before I put them in this place of power. And I also think God is also, especially in the situation of King Saul, he teaches us as people that you should never rely on man as your source. Because the reason why the prophet Samuel anointed King Saul, because they were asking for a king and they were begging for a king to the point that God appointed Saul. It was never in God's will for us to have a ruler. But because people wanted a physical manifestation of a person, they got that person. And then they realized that person is flawed. The only person that we can really look up to in this world and to the life to come after we have gone to glory is ultimately Jesus Christ. There is not, listen, no man can provide you with what you need rather than God. God can put people in positions, but they are not to be your God. And the need for always needing validation, needing someone to see, somebody who isn't as structured, really is flawed, you know. So anyway, I don't want to ramble too much. I just wanted to talk about this other layer. Maybe I'm repeating myself, but we need to understand that some people who are put in positions of power may have the intellectual properties but lack the emotional capacity. They are not leaders. Don't mistaken a person who is smart to be a leader. A lot of companies, a lot of governments, state-owned entities, a lot of churches, religious communities, and other settings assume someone's intellect means someone's ability to lead. Somebody can be so smart but is disastrous when it comes to leadership, and that person can really derail the efforts of a place because of their lack of leadership. They don't have it. They have the books, the smarts, but they lack leadership. And that person is the most disastrous person you can ever have in your remnant, your vicinity, because you might be thinking, oh, I got this person, he's so smart, she's so smart, but that person has no idea how to shepherd the flock. They have no idea. So I hope that this word can also be an extra layer to what I've shared, and it makes sense that, you know what, do not idolize men. Even the most brightest, the most shiniest of people have flaws, including myself. Okay, have an awesome day, guys. Bye.